proud to be sponsored by Diamond Bright, the car care products that have been keeping the furious fleet looking their best for a long time already. To find all you need to keep your car clean and protected, follow the link below to diamondbright.co.uk. Hello, welcome to Furious Driving, and well, if there's ever been an apt time to wear this particular t-shirt, broken Rovers, shattered dreams, drinking out my Rover mug, today was the day, because yesterday was not special. This car has been going great guns. It's been going absolutely fantastically, to the point that of my two 1990s Rover hot hatches, this and the Alpha 145 Cloverleaf, I've actually been giving second thoughts to owning the Alpha anymore, thinking maybe this is the better of the two and I might actually prefer to keep this one long term. Don't tell the Alpha though. But anyway, I'll do a separate video on that at a later date for my thinking behind that. Anyway, it's been so good. I took it to Yorkshire 2 weeks ago to the motorist. 600 miles plus in a weekend, faultless, apart from a tiny bit of bubbling in the header tank in some very, very heavy traffic on a hot day. But you know, otherwise completely faultless. I've been using it a lot at home. It's a good fun car to drive. However, yesterday it went all Rover on me and proved me wrong. It had been going so good that we had to go out yesterday morning in the first thing during rush hour. I said to Mrs. Furious, why don't you drive it? I used to have a Rover 216 SI, and we both liked that car. So I said, you'll see how good this car is, you take the wheel. So she was driving this thing when we got caught in some horrendous traffic, a dual carriageway. I think it was down to one lane and then a roundabout, so it was just stop start for a long time. The engine didn't get hot on the temperature gauge, but just for a moment there was that same bubbling sound again from the header tank. You can hear it kind of vibrating through the firewall. But before we had time to do anything like turn it off, and you couldn't really pull over anyway because we're on a dual carriageway with barriers on both sides, there's nowhere to go, there was this massive bang. It was like a rifle shot going off. So something very catastrophically had let go in a big way, much like the microwave you might better see on the floor down there. The paint came off the inside of it, and that also let go in an exciting manner as well. That's going to be taken to the scrap man very soon. Fortunately, we'd reached the roundabout because we were on a dual carriageway a few metres behind. We'd have been in live lane. Luckily, we'd reached the junction, so we were able to push off to the side of the roundabout and get out of the live traffic, which was still pretty scary, the number of trucks and things that were going past. You might have seen this on Twitter yesterday. And because of the location, we were very lucky the AA made it a priority. So the AA man made it out to us in about 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes. It was astonishingly fast. I think the quickest collection I've ever had from the AA. Now, at first thoughts were really to staying safe and getting off the road rather than investigating the problem. But having a quick look at the bonnet, you can see there was no coolant left whatsoever. Because we'd pushed the car off the side of the road, there's no visible telltale to explain where it had gone either, because the massive lake that had been underneath it was no longer there. It was somewhere else. My first thought was the header tank, because these are known to split, but that looked good. It was also, second thought was to be these cap, because they are known to go bad, and I really do need to replace this anyway. But that also looked like it wasn't the culprit, so something had let go, but I couldn't see what. Anyway, when the AA man turned up, he said, oh, it looks like the radiator was at fault. I looked here and thought, oh well, pinprick, has that done it? But no, he was looking from this side, not this side. And if you come over here, you can see the rather terrifying vision of thunder and doom, where it had let go very dramatically indeed on the side of the tank. The header tank on the side is made of plastic. It's just sheared. It failed with a noise like a gunshot, and it is really, really quite scary. My wife was looking from the driver's seat in the mirror and saying the woman in the car behind looked terrified when she saw her face in the mirror. Yeah, so anyway, that wasn't something that the AA carry on them in their vans for some reason. 1990 Rover radiators just isn't in their stock list of spares anymore. Who knew? So yeah, 10 out of 10 for delivery time or arrival time, 0 out of 10 for carrying this this individual component. I'm joking, obviously. Anyway, so yeah, they towed me home, reminiscent of the time the Alpha 145 failed on a speed bump because its immobiliser broke. They towed me home behind the van. I didn't film it because I only had my phone on me and I wasn't about to get in the way of the AA guy trying to do his job on this particular occasion, because it was just far too much going on. Anyway, right, this is also weirdly reminiscent of the Volvo, because when the Volvo 740's plastic header tank exploded, that was much the same thing. I've been driving on the motorway and it was fine when air was flowing through it, but as soon as we stopped, everything got hot and the plastic had fatigued roughly where this pipe would go into it. And I was just opened the bonnet to look at where the steam was coming from. As I just leant forward and started moving my finger towards it, the thing just let go and there was a gush of steam, and it wasn't as loud as this one because it wasn't such a big piece of shearing plastic, but if I'd been looking over it more closely or a few seconds or a second later, I've had a face full of scalding water, so that would have been quite nasty. Anyway, right, so we have now got to replace the radiator. Fortunately, that's all it was. I was dreading it being something more serious. I didn't think it was going to be the head gasket, because the way that it just dumped all the coolant and we turned the engine off immediately, it didn't seem to be a head gasket type of thing. It seemed to be a catastrophic failure of something else. I'm glad, in a way, it was something as simple as that. So there are 3 radiators that fit on the 1.8 Rover 200. Fortunately, only one of them has got this arrangement of pipes both facing the engine, so fingers crossed that is going to fit and it's going to be the right one. And it's only £65 as well, so that is actually not a desperately expensive repair. Second problem though is that while we were waiting for the AA to arrive, the window decided that it no longer wanted to move. Let's put the ignition on and show you. You can hear the mechanism inside doing stuff. That's the top and down again. You can see a little bit of movement on the glass as something comes off. I think it must have jumped its rails. I didn't have time to do anything with it last night, but I did have to put a bunch of tape up bags over it because it was absolutely bucketing down with rain all night. So first thing to do while I'm waiting for the radiator to arrive is I'll pop this door card off and have a look at how this works and if we can do anything about making the window work again, because at least the car will be secure then. Now this thing might not be going anywhere, but at least it does still look incredibly shiny and it just kind of glows really. If you saw it up at the Motorist, you can comment on how good it looked up there, please. This is thanks to our channel sponsor Diamond Bright, whose products have taken this car from a crusty barn find to something that looks actually quite presentable, despite the fact the paint is really awful. Right, now let's get on with fixing this thing. Now fortunately, these door cards do come off fairly easily. There's only about half a dozen or so screws that hold them to the panel. It's just a matter of remembering where they all are and seeing which ones previous owners have forgotten to put back in. I know I've done it. And finally, don't forget to pull out this cover here, which levers out rather awkwardly, and you've got 2 big screws there, and those are the main ones that hold the thing on in the middle. Then you should be able to lift the thing off. Ooh. Wires on the tweeter, don't forget. There we go, and it's free. So while we've got this door card off, what we can do is also fix this collapsed area just here, which is kind of given way on the top just there, but it's only like a thin card-like material, so I can pop that back up and put some fiberglass or similar on the back of it and try and reinforce it. So what seems to be happening, if this is at the bottom, or the lifter is at the bottom right now, if I push the up button, you can see it moving up, but it's not connected to the glass anymore. That's weird. So I'm going to try and I'll lift the glass up, hold it to the top, and reinsert the 2 together. Okay, so lucky break if you like. I was just taking the plastic bags off that were holding this all together, and yeah, it turned out the glass was just only being held up into the door by the plastic bags. Okay, so they seem to be missing its runner up into the... I wonder what's happened here. It's kind of jumped its runner. There's a rubber, but there is a rubber groove down here that the glass is meant to sit into. It seems to have jumped forward of that, so I'm going to try and manoeuvre that back into that position. Well, this is super fun. Okay, good. Glass is now in position, but I now can't move. Didn't think that one through. Keep very still and get the gaffer tape. It won't be easy to see what's happened, but there's the bottom of the glass. you may be able to see that white bit of plastic, which is like a horseshoe U shape, which is grasping the glass underneath it, and it's full of like black goo, so it probably was glued in place rather than bolted, which is a mistake, I would say. At this end though, at the front, as you definitely can't see, the inner side, this side of the two grasping bits isn't there anymore. So that thing is slightly sprung loaded just by the tension of the shape of it. It's flapping towards there. So I'm not quite sure how easily you can see this on the back of the GoPro, but that should be a U-shaped bracket clamping the glass, but it's an L shape now. And so you can see where there's a black mark on this side facing the camera where it was gripped, and it's no longer gripped. So I'm going to see if I can find one of those grips from somewhere. Rimmer Brothers maybe, DGRMS, GGR, MG, it's got MG Rover. Anyway, yeah, those guys. Someone must have one. And I can just undo that 110mm bolt underneath that and then have it gripped. In the meantime, I'm going to clamp it all back together with gaffer tape, because that's the best solution I have. Right, so it's much easier with the speaker taken out of there. Head torch fits in there, and you can see, whoops, that it's not a brilliant repair, but it's one that at least holds everything together temporarily until that component arrives from wherever it's going to arrive from, and I can keep the car dry. And just to check things do work, there we go. So yeah, it's kind of fixed. It'll do for now. Right, now I need to go and find the internet and figure that one out. Meanwhile, I'm going to put the radiator out. The new radiator is on the way over from a local supplier, because that is often the quickest way to get something, is just ring the local guy rather than waiting on a delivery from God knows where else. And hopefully they'll sort me out. Meanwhile, I'll quickly show you something that escalated very rapidly indeed. One of these slats, just the middle one on the left, had come away at the end, so it was sitting at a slight angle and it bothered me. So I took this thing out and pried the front off, with the plan being to just reset that one and put it back in the correct position. Unfortunately, when I got it apart, once I got it apart, I realised that the reason it was sitting loose was because that had broken off, and the other side had got another broken off one as well. So basically I have to super glue all of those just in a locked position, just so I've got a functional thing. I was going to buy one off eBay or somewhere, but now I'm spending other money on it. Well, good news is you can get those little plastic clips from Rimmer Brothers. They do have an awful lot of random bits and pieces for Rovers. It's only £7.10 per item, plus VAT and shipping, so it's only £13.62 per item. Yeah, I probably should have bought two of them really for that shipping. While I'm waiting for the new radiator to arrive, I will drink some tea, available from furiousdriving.co.uk, the cup, not the tea, and we'll take out the old radiator, which needs two flathead screwdrivers to undo the water pipes, 8mm socket of some kind to do these 4 bolts, nuts holding the fan on the back of the radiator, and then 2 8mm spanners or sockets to undo these, so hopefully this won't take too long. Right, so all I'm going to need is a couple of 8mm sockets and an 8mm spanner. But if, by the way, you're looking at the stuff I'm using, it's all my Draper stuff, which you can find in the Amazon store down below. If you click on those links, it certainly does give the channel a bit of a boost by clicking on those Amazon links. That one, this fourth one in that bottom corner, is actually a lot easier to get at from underneath. Fortunately, I never got around to putting the plastic cladding back on the bottom yet, so that saves a lot of bother. Don't know why I didn't do this before, but I just wiggled this thing out as well, because that makes it just a little bit neater. I don't need it because I've got the hydraulic struts up there. I can live in the garage for now. It says in the Haynes book, I did look in the manual about what you do on this thing. First step is to drain the system. It goes through quite a few different things to do. I don't think we need to do any of those today. Problem definitely solved as far as that one's concerned. Could do this without, a bit easier without the fan in the way here. Tea goes everywhere. Yeah, much easier to get down to this one with the airbox out of the way. Again, rather handy that I've not finished putting things back together properly, because the car's still sort of in shakedown mode. So there are 2 brackets. Oops. I might give those a quick clean up while I'm waiting for the radiator. But I'm wondering how much water is going to gush out of this now. Oh, blimey, there's some. No, not too much actually, only a splash, because most of it is on the dual carriageway. Let's get everything out of the way, make life easier. Why won't the fan detach, I wonder? Books, there's only 4, but there's 5. Of course there are. Of course there are 5 blocks on the fan when the book only says 4. That's an easier position to do it in. Right, so what you can probably see from here is what has given way is this bit here. It's meant to be attached over there. I've never seen a radiator fail quite as catastrophically as that before. It is genuinely shocking how bad that is. I'm absolutely gobsmacked. Anyway, this is now going in the big recycling pile to get weighed in and, yeah, be gone. But man, I can't believe it. This is going in the scrap pile. Meanwhile, we do have a new, Nissan's radiator just here, complete with, ooh, shiny new fixings as well. And this is actually tomorrow, because the one that was due to arrive whilst I was filming did turn up, but despite being in the correct box, one of these ports was in the wrong side. I mentioned earlier in the video there are 3 styles of hose outlet. Somehow the wrong one had wound up in the right box, if that makes sense. So yeah, not the company's fault for sending it, someone at the manufacturers for packaging it wrong, which is very unfortunate. So I've now had 2 radiators arrive. Only one will be installed, which is this one. So I'll pop this in quickly. Incidentally, my £7 worth of next day shipping from Rivers has not yet delivered the door repair parts, so that is not yet done. The car is still working, but working on gaffer tape. Right, so by lining this up against the old one, I've worked out which way round it's all meant to go. I've retrieved the rubber bungy things that go underneath it. And now I can feed this all into the engine bay and try not to damage the radiator. Yeah, trying not to squish the fins is significantly trickier than you might imagine, because the air pipe is in the way, and the fan's in the way, and everything's in the way. The radiators are crazy, fragile little things. And I did give those brackets a little bit of a paint up just to make them a little bit more presentable, because otherwise they look a bit rusty and horrible. And since everything else is new and shiny, let's make this new and shiny as well. So now it's just a matter of trying to do this in the reverse order of what was trickiest, and that pipe down the bottom was the most tricky, so that can go on next. So I am just realising that what would have been a very good idea before I put the radiator in would have been to actually use the little brackety things in their places where they go, so I can screw the radiator to the right place and not grovel around on the floor quite as much. So I'm doing that now because I'm not a complete idiot, it turns out, after all. Well, only partial idiot. Right, I now know why it says fit the fan after you fitted the radiator separately. The reason is because the two don't go in together, because the exhaust manifold's in the way and you can't get past that water pipe. So I was right first time. I'm just wasting time thinking I'm saving time. Don't do what I've just done. So I've just wasted about 10 minutes of ins and outs and mucking around, and now I'm back where I was 10 minutes ago, and now it's raining. Right, so fan is bolted back on, pipes are reconnected, everything is bolted back into place. Just need now to make sure you use the drainage pipe properly, and we can top up the antifreeze coolant if you prefer. I'm sure some of you do, and see where we go from there. In a way, this is quite handy because obviously, having had quite a nasty head gasket failure already, this does give us the opportunity, that one's empty, to give this yet another coolant system flush to make sure all the nasties have gone. What's left now to do, let's head a tank filled as much as possible, fire the engine up, let stuff run through. And we'll keep an eye on the breather, so when that starts running out of there, we know we've got it bled out okay. Now There we go, I think we're good there. Up to the max line again. I'm just going to let the thing run now until the fan comes on, just to make sure the fan is kicking in nicely. Got no leaks anywhere that I can see, which is a good start. That feels very hot. No leaks over there. It needs a bit of a rinse off, so I just splashed a bit when I was filling it up. Temperature wise, don't really hit the point where the fan is needed just yet, so don't know how much longer that will take, but it all seems to be running good. If you see nothing more of this video, it meant the fan cut in. If this video continues a bit longer in a moment, it means it didn't, and we've got more stuff to investigate, which I'm going to tell you about. But for the moment, I'm going to say the Rover is a-running. It's all good. We've got a functioning, not broken Rover 200 VI once again, with more fresh coolant, so inadvertently it's done me a favour because it means it's had yet another flush, which is brilliant. Last thing I'm going to do after I turn the camera off, you don't need to see this, there's nothing to see, is refit this. Now I've seen there's no leaks on it. As soon as I hear the fan kick in, and I'm sure I'm not going to take anything off, I'm going to refit that under tray, which means the car will be more, I don't know, aerodynamic, more better, that kind of stuff. The bracket for the window didn't show up, so I'll fit that. But you've seen how I'm going to fit that. I'll refit that in the next video. I don't know, at some point. If you want to help support the channel and live the dream that I'm living right now, Broken Rovers and Shattered Dreams t-shirts are available at furiousdriving.co.uk. If you need larger sizes or smaller sizes, or are not in the UK, then head over to the Redbubble store, also linked below, because that is where you can get them shipped to and from the rest of the world, and even in colours other than black, if you want. It took an age for the temperature gauge to move past the centre point, and then suddenly it spiked up to red, but the fan did not kick in, and now I have to turn it off just for a couple of seconds, but back down to the middle again. So I'm going to have to go and get the P-scan out, so join me for the next episode when I'll be investigating what's broken there. That means we've got a working cooling system, but we've not got something electrical working. Either the fan, a thermostat sensor, or something like that is dead. So next edition of the Rover 200 episodes, we'll pull out the P-scan, we'll scan the car, see if we can figure out what has broken, and then we'll work out why it's overheating, because that is probably why it wasn't working properly up in Yorkshire as well. Right, thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this episode of Making a Rover Not Broken. Well, less broken. If you have, please like and subscribe as always. Anyway, thank you for watching, and join me again next time trying to make some other unloved piece of toot work.